My name's Tristram Carfrae, I'm from Arup, and it's my pleasure to welcome you this evening to our first Penguin Pool event. Some of you may not realise that the Penguin Pool at London Zoo, recently refurbished Penguin Pool at London Zoo, was actually our first project. The main event this evening is a talk by Simon Waterfall. Now, I've just been talking to Simon. He tells me he is not a Renaissance man because that might mean that he's not an expert at what he does. But he is a product designer, a digital designer. He is a fashion entrepreneur, I guess. He is now a futurist, I believe, and he will in fact be talking to us about the future. So Simon, please come and address us.
Welcome everyone. The main event. I wasn't told that on my honeymoon when I was phoned up last week. I was in Brazil, but when John Sorrell phones you up and says, can you please do a talk, you kind of normally say yes. So yeah, I'm Simon Waterfall. I'm here to do a penguin talk. The Penguin Pool? The Penguin Pool, after doing a little bit of research, we're kind of in it, I guess. Which kind of makes you penguins and me, maybe the zookeeper, which is the way I'd like to try and keep this going. Penguins, when this was designed, this was a new look at the future. This is a look at technology. This was a look at materials. This was a look at what could be done. Penguins happen to live in it, maybe not now, but it was a possible future. And so I spend my whole time being asked to look at possible futures. And I'm a digital designer. Most of the things I do come with a battery. And when it comes with a battery, it has a name. It's called science fiction. Because when people talk about the future in terms of digital, science fiction has two parts to it. There's science, which is facts. It's about now. It's a very serious topic. It's the truth. And fiction, when you think about it, it's unreal, it's tomorrow, it's dreams, it's lies. The only way to get to the future is to have the ability to jump from something very solid, like science, and take leaps, enormous leaps of faith into the unknown. Sometimes you're the only person who might believe in it. But in terms of how I work and the people I work with, the farther I can jump into the future, it's more likely to achieve its aim. The only way to predict the future is to build it and dream it. So I believe it's not science minus fiction, those at the back. I think it's science plus fiction. I believe some of the stuff that we do is evolving what we know today and what could be tomorrow. What's truth, what's lies, anything that is a combination of two disparate things. Now, I've been asked to talk for 25 minutes. I've never talked for 25 minutes in my life. I love the sound of my own voice, and I've been drinking heavily. I'm going to try and do it because you're all standing up, so if I go real quick, it's only because I have a limit and the band are brilliant. So, first point I'm going to make, too much future is a bad thing.
All over the world, Wang is the leader in office technology. Word processing, data processing, and now with our new electronic mail system, you can send all kinds of information from one part of the world to another. So New York can be around the corner from Paris, London from Tokyo, and San Francisco next to Rome. Wang, making the world more productive by bringing it closer together.
Wang. I mean, just the brand shouldn't have died. This is the Wang that you just saw. Luckily, it's 19¼ pounds. It's 1.5 feet by maybe another 1.5 feet. This was the promise then. When you have a technology, when you have something that connects, the next step is to add, embellish, add features, add buttons, add functionality, add desire, shrink it down, make it better, make it improve it. you improve it so much that after a time, it gets to this. This Pulsar calculator watch comes with its own pen, not to write down the instructions. It's the only way you can use the buttons. They've got so much future in that thing, it's redundant. And a good friend of mine, Richard Seymour, talks about this. Doink. It's when things evolve and they become a natural size. Calculators went from this big, 19¼ pounds, to and then they went pop, and they just settled on the amount of technology, the amount of size, the amount of humanity that we actually need. Not blind technology, not blind future, but that's pretty much a calculator. All calculators are that size. Real stuff stops the future. This is an apocryphal story. I'm talking to engineers. I'm an engineer by training, but this obviously is China, where a large percentage of the population live. And they said there was a new race. It's not a nuclear race. This is an information race. This is trying to get their population online. So the Chinese government said, right, we want to get everybody on broadband. And they sent away the committee, said, right, go make it happen. 6 months, they came back, and they said, no. Well done with the Chinese government. You don't say no to the Chinese government. I think some of you have been in these meetings. No. What? We want to get everybody online in China. Why no? They said, well, there's not enough copper in the planet to wire China. You forget sometimes the constraints aren't us, it's actually the real world. We live in the real world. You cannot wire China like that. There's other ways to do it, but that wasn't a conclusion that they thought. Number 3, in the future, there's no more shouting. Dr. Jim Wilkes did a study back in 2009, and he found out that every single day, the average American absorbs, that's flames, by the way. It's a very, very rarely used filter on Keynote, flame. We hope you appreciate it. The average American absorbs 3,800 branded messages per day. Every day. Now, what happens when you have a ticking clock? You only hear a ticking clock twice. Once when it starts, and then there's a part in your brain, which is the proto-reptilian part, which everybody has, that takes away repetition. And the only time you next hear it is if it stops. We have got to this stage when everything we're doing is shouting, branding, messages, selling, choice. The only time we're next going to hear these messages, and the future, is when people calm down. And I believe, however we look at the economy at the moment, that is happening now. I think it's a good thing. We are filling up the future with choice. Do we all need this choice? I don't want to go to Google and find 3.5 billion results in less than a microsecond. I want less choice, and I want more informed opinion. Google isn't a search engine. That's wrong. Google should be a found engine. You're selling the wrong part of it. The future is about trying to make things quiet. It's very difficult to make things simple. Ask Apple. I went to Google, and I turned up on the day, and they said, we're Google dumb. I said, what do you mean you're Google dumb? They said, we bought 5 new buildings. I said, why did you buy 5 new buildings today? They said, 6 weren't for sale. We're going to fill this with Google Smart. Today they think themselves as Google dumb. The future is going to be simpler, but it's going to be Google Smart. Friendship in the future is becoming less Italian. Now, the Italians have a brilliant saying about friendship. They say, a friend will help you move house. You know what a ball ache it is to move house. You phone up your friend, Comes over and you don't want to take the call. A friend helps you move house. A good friend helps you move a body. Now, I only have 3 friends that I can call to move a body, and they haven't been made in this general area. This is a new type of friendship. These are, for those at the back, Facebook, Dig, all of the social comments that you use at the moment. This is maintenance. This is a new type of friendship. The future won't be creating body movers. Number 5, unplanned future consequences. Basically, 1 + 1, especially in technology, never ever equals 2. So, not so long ago, a couple of months ago, they did 2 things. Happened pretty much the same time. Holographic glass storage sounds futuristic, but suddenly you can laser etch glass to be holographically stored forever. Forget dropping it, forget microchips, forget spinning disks of silicon. Glass holographic storage. And they made one single laser produce 26 terabytes of information. Now, 26 terabytes of information down a laser fiber optic cable has been done before, but not by one laser. The whole of the biggest library in the world, the National Congress Library in the States, 10 seconds. Every single piece of information in there, bang, 10 seconds. Plus, unlimited storage on this. Glass. Terabytes. What happens when you put this ultimate storage with this ultimate speed? You lose the word delete. Your children will never delete. They'll never delete anything. There's no need. It's not about file size. It's not about storage. Think of the things that you talk about and they share, and I've got lots of things I would rather not have done in my life. Nothing will be deleted. We didn't plan that. It's just going to happen. Number 6. Nothing will start or finish in the future. Now, coming from a digital age, I never expect the things I buy to finish. I expect next week to be updated. Nowadays, I expect it to be invisible. When I buy an app, it's not the end game, it's the beginning of a relationship. But imagine that was everywhere. Imagine your best book. This is Escher. Imagine that was a beta. Imagine it had multiple endings. Suddenly, the idea of a single linear narrative of how I move through branding, through stories, will not exist. I don't think this is a good thing. This is the launch of the iPhone 4. The guy is obviously wearing an iPhone 4 on his head, so he's quite a big fan. In fact, it's a 3. What was the main thing in the blogs on the day Apple released the iPhone 4? It was a talk about what wasn't on the iPhone 4 and what the iPhone 5 would have. It's a day out the box, and he's already talking about iPhone 5. I don't want to commit. I mean, as soon as I commit to this future, there's going to be a better future around the world. I've got an iPhone 3 in my pocket because I don't want a phone that breaks when I hold it in my left hand. So I'm going to wait for the 5, or maybe I'll wait for the 6. This is crippling for people. When do you engage? How do I at least participate in this? Number 7, the future will have echoes of the past. How many people in here still say, I'll dial your number? I still dial numbers. We haven't dialed in years. We've squared, and that's not part of our vocabulary. We still all use a QWERTY keyboard. This is a technology invented to spread out the vowels and consonants, to slow the mechanism up so that you can type slower so it will actually work. So hold on, we're inventing a technology to make it more difficult to type on an old steam-powered typewriter, and we're still making this the main means of communication in the world. Anyone strike you as being particularly dumb? Kids now, although there is a QWERTY keyboard, are the thumb generation. These kids can type faster than they can speak with their thumbs. How is that affecting the world? They are affecting themselves physically. So when you go home and ask your very small child to point to the sky, half of them point like this. Because this is their premium. This is a redundant finger. This, strongest finger I got. In fact, I'm ambidextrous. I got 2 thumbs. We're going to give them keyboards when they come and work here. Do we want to do that, or do we want to give them little decks? We are affected. Technology is physically affecting people. And when I think about the future, number 8, the future of design is about improvement. When I think about this slide here, when I say 8 years ago, this slide cost over $40 million to produce. What is that slide? That single slide is a DNA string. Not a projection, it's an actual human being on one single slide. 40 million. Now, it's a couple of thousand. If we're talking about constant improvement with phones and technology, we're now starting to turn that interest into improving us. And I find that slightly worrying. When you look at diamonds, there are 2 types of diamonds, natural diamonds, and now you can grow a diamond in a very hot pressure vessel. How do you spot a fake diamond? These diamonds are perfect. These diamonds are exactly to the atom perfect diamonds. The only way to spot a fake diamond is it's too perfect. A real diamond has inclusions. That word inclusions normally in speech marks is flaws. The things that have gone wrong. It's a slightly wrong colour. It's got some cracks in it. When you look at my jaded past, the only things that have made me are my mistakes. They are the things that have gone wrong. They are inclusions in what I've done and the things I've achieved. And as we know, now it's all going to be stored forever and never going to be deleted. We're screwed. We're going to be living with our foibles, with our passions, with the things that we loved when we were teenagers, with our music choices all the way through life. But it's going to make us. We cannot start to perfect everything, otherwise we'll all become robots. What is the currency of the future? This, a few hundred years, was the most important machine ever invented at that time. This printing press allows us to retrieve, restore, and give to other people. It allows us to copy and paste. That's all printing did. It allowed us to take the 2D written form and replicate it for everybody. It changed the world. What are we doing now? This gentleman here is holding our future. This is a 3D printing machine. Now, if you could print any book, if you can go to Google and find anything in the National Congress at super fast speed, imagine if somebody said, do you know what? Don't forget about the music. I'll send you the music, but I'll also send you the flute. I'll send you the instrument you can play that music on. This is a laser printed flute. Eventually, it'll be able to have the clarity, the resolution in the printing that will enable a Stradivarius to be printed. It'll have the echoes and the cracks in the wood that was made those hundreds of years ago. You will send 3D. You will send solid. We will be printing a new future. It's kind of crazy. And it's just happening now. These things are gimmicks. These things are, they're in our digital studios, in our creative studios as prototype machines. That's what the press has started as. I believe the currency of the future is not what you can get. I believe the digital future, the currency is homemade cake. Don't find me a cake. Don't produce me a cake. Bake me a cake. People's personal involvement with things is going to be the currency of our future. When you go to the States, when you go to Manhattan, when it's cheaper to go out and eat in a restaurant than it is to cook at home, when somebody invites you over and actually makes you a meal, it's a big thing. That's our future. Won't be about owning things. I think it'll be a return to the craft and the inclusions and the chocolate down the side, and it actually doesn't taste that good, but it'll be his cake. Can we design a new emotion for the future? So we are now constantly connected. We are connected with our social sphere, with the friends that are not intimate, they're not body carriers, but I'm telling them I'm here and Waterfall's going on. It's been over 25 minutes, but he's going. Everything is about improving and sharing and finding. Not a lot of creation, but a lot of curation. And if I was going to design a new emotion for the future, when I want to find a difference, when I want to go back to what's actually important in the future, I think the new emotion that we can all design together is off. Turning off and focusing on our own humanity, our own spirituality sometimes, but finding ourselves at this time is really important. Thank you very much. Enjoy the beer.